how many ways do you have to get out of doing things? And how many of you can express your means of not getting involved with lofty spiritual principles? You even say, I have so many things to do, I don't have time to take care of myself. I've got too many things to do, too many urgent things to do, to take a nap, or go to bed early and get some needed rest. After all, I'm a spiritual being. I'm not a body. I am still free to be as God created me, and that means I don't need sleep. That means that I can push and push and push beyond endurance. I can ignore my needs. You see, when you are behaving in a way that disrespects you, you will experience more needs. But if you will acknowledge your needs and meet them by sticking with them until you have the evidence of no need, you will find perhaps that you do need less rest than most people. But not because of any autonomy and power you have of your own, but because you're willing to fit in, to be a part of what? The way, capital W, way things work. How can it, the ego, preach separation without upholding it through fear? And would you listen to it if you recognized this is what it is doing? You see, orphanhood is an unnatural, conscious experience. It's actually an aberration. And because it causes you not to remember your father, and therefore your part in the sonship, your involvement with something, you experience fear. You experience the unnaturalness of it, the uneasiness of it. And as I've said before, at the bottom line, it's your capital S sanity telling you that you are trying to do something very unnatural. And to stop. To be alert not to proceed any further in that direction. But then what happens? As I've said before, because you're still the Son of God, you're still the Christ, you have all the power of your Christhood. And you can still feel it even though you don't recognize it for what it is. And so that strength, that is true strength, is used by you in your amnesia as to your real identity as the means of addressing the fear by overcoming it rather than abandoning what has occasioned it. And that's why the ego is described as that which causes the experience of fear, but also as that which minimizes it by suggesting that you have the power to overcome it, and your power is greater than the fear. And so it gives you courage. Continuing, your recognition that whatever seems to separate you from God is only fear, regardless of the form it takes, and quite apart from how the ego wants you to experience it, is therefore the basic ego threat. What is the basic ego threat? Your recognition that whatever seems to separate you from God is only fear. Its dream of autonomy is shaken to its foundation by this awareness. For though you may countenance a false idea of independence, you will not accept the cost of fear if you recognize it. So, why do you not avoid needs? Why do you engage in addressing needs? Because they are the point of breakthrough. They sit there as the threshold of discovery. They sit there as the threshold of a miracle. And if you're willing to address the need, it will uncover to you the fear you have that you're not competent to meet the need, and it will also uncover the fear you have that if there is a God, maybe God won't answer you. So fear has you coming and going. And it will box you in unless you ignore it. But if you do not ignore it, the miracle will occur. The shift of perception, the sudden shift of perception will occur. And simultaneous with it will be the evidence of needs met. So that need no longer presents itself. Though you may countenance a false idea of independence, you will not accept the cost of fear if you recognize it. Yet, this is the cost, and the ego cannot minimize it. The ego and the fear are simultaneous and inseparable. The only way to get out of the fear is to abandon the ego. How do you abandon the ego? Very simply. In religious terms, turn to God. Invite God back into your life. Break your stupid isolation. Break your stupid rest in independence. by inviting God back in. But even more clearly, you have the means now because you have the words now to understand that the way you abandon the ego is by abandoning the memory banks, abandoning the thinking, abandoning the reasoning processes that are based upon what's in the memory banks. You now know, because the words are being used, that there's a place of excellence in you. An altar. It's the place where what? Your divinity is held in trust while you dally with the ego. And what's held in trust there is called the Holy Spirit. How do you abandon the ego? By giving your attention to that place in you where your essential God-derived divinity awaits your attention and invitation to be involved. And then listen rather than spout from the memory banks all of your best judgments and opinions and reasonings and conclusions and definitions. Blah, blah, blah. It's not hard, but it does require a shifting of gears, a shifting of attention, and a shift of intent. Not my will, but thine be done, you see. Again, though you may countenance a false idea of independence, you will not accept the cost of fear if you recognize it, meaning if you recognize it for what it is. Yet this is the cost. Again, that's just the way things work. It is the cost. No way to wiggle around it. It costs something. This is the cost, and the ego cannot minimize it. For if you overlook what? Love, you are overlooking yourself. And you must fear unreality because you have denied yourself. In other words, it says the state of insanity cannot be a comfortable experience. By believing that you have successfully attacked truth, you are believing that attack has power. Why? Because you believe that you have successfully attacked truth. Very simply then, you have become afraid of yourself. The Christ that you are. And no one wills to learn what he believes would destroy him. What if you join with your brother in a willingness to recognize needs, not for the purpose of seeing what the problems of the world are, but so that the needs can be addressed and eradicated? Wow. What if your fear that you're engaging in helping, in caring, in meeting the need, what if it results in miracles, You might become known as a miracle worker. Bad news. Bad news. Then all the huddled masses of the world might converge on your doorstep. Well, it's just the same suggestion in a greater magnitude. Maybe I can't be the agent for change for the masses of the world. Maybe God will not work a miracle. Maybe I am not able. You see? So here we moved from, on a small scale, with just your neighbor or your friend who has a need, or a member of your family, that you might not be able to stand immovably on behalf of the miracle, that you wouldn't be able to be an agent for change, and then finding out that indeed that is the means for not initiating a miracle, but eliciting, allowing a miracle, and experiencing the wonder of it. You see, then you'll find yourself not devoting yourself to anything else, because you see that it is what promotes correction of the things that need to be corrected. And you were just willing to stand as the servant of the movement of the miracle rather than the author of it. But now the fear presents itself that such an outcome will cause you to be overwhelmed with needs presenting themselves to you that you may not be able to be equal to. You see? You just moved into a larger arena in your mind and re-employed the initial fear. You are all conditioned by fear. And this is what you need to see. You need to be willing to look at what holds you back. You have a need not to be suffering. You have a need not to be suffering from the belief that you are something less than the Christ. You need to no longer experience an unconsciousness of your capital B birthright because of who and what you divinely are. Looking at it is not for the purpose of coming to the conclusion, I'm really screwed up. That's not the point. The point is to see what the belief is that keeps you from leaning further beyond it into your need not to be suffering, so that you get past the reluctance to experience a miracle, to have the clearer experience of your divinity. I'm here helping you persist through your fears that create reluctance and resistance, and that cause you to say, I really don't need that much. I really don't need to be wealthy. I do quite well with very little. You see? I've learned what's really important, and things are not important. I've learned how to be alone. It wouldn't have been my choice, but I've learned to be alone. And you know what? In my aloneness, I've gotten closer to God. Well, I'm telling you right now, that thought is pure bullshit. It's pure ego bullshit, because the closer you get to God, the closer you will find yourself becoming with your brother. And the more involved you will become in the addressing of needs with divine guidance. And as a result, experience miracles that will ripple out and bless everyone, because there never is a private miracle. Never. Continuing. If the ego's goal of autonomy could be accomplished, God's purpose could be defeated. And this is impossible. Only by learning what fear is can you finally learn to distinguish the possible from the impossible and the false from the true. According to the ego's teaching, its goal can be accomplished, and God's purpose cannot. According to the Holy Spirit's teaching, only God's purpose is accomplishment, and it is already accomplished. What is accomplished? The movement of being. The behold, I make all things new. That is what's going on. It's the only thing that's going on. And if you're not seeing it in your daily life, which is really the only place available to you to see it, then you're having a dream. You're having a nightmare. But it is available to be seen, and that's why correction of illusions is possible. And it is why giving your attention to needs out of caring, because you are love, elicits miracles, sudden shifts of perception. Miracles require diligence much of the time. Miracles require of you that you stand right in the face of the effects of a hurricane, right in the face of a family illness, right in the face of whatever, and stay conscious. Don't lapse into your metaphysical and spiritual folderol that lets you not address with your full attention the manifestation of a miracle because you've learned how to do with less than a miracle. You're quite happy with less. And to tell you the truth, your ability to do with less means you're further along the road of your enlightenment than your brother, who is experiencing need when he needn't. Miracles are vigorous and invigorating. And it is impossible to stand in their presence without awe. And if you're not experiencing awe, you're not involved in a miracle. And if you're not involved in a miracle, you have somehow managed to avoid experiencing need. Needs are places in you, in your ego structures, that are weak. And they therefore serve as thresholds for breakthroughs, ahas, sudden shifts of perception. Sudden shifts of perception that put you in the position of acting, I'm going to say, radically, unexpectedly, uncalculatedly, being in a way that doesn't honor all of the statements of the need. You usually experience need as a clear statement of lack that you cannot escape. On the other hand, if you're looking at it as a threshold of breakthrough, of discovery and transformed experience, you will behave on that basis as you are infilled with that awareness, and you will take actions that your interpretation of need as lack would not allow you to take. Now, I have shared with you a vigorous teaching that should invigorate you and cause you to have a little bit more courage to look at needs so that your attention might be where the breakthrough can occur and the sudden shift of perception can happen, and the correction of the suggestion of lack can be replaced by the conscious experience of fulfillment that will be recordable on cameras, that will be evident through physical examination,